Hey everybody, and welcome inside to another edition of the Saint Ignatius Broadcasting Network's Across the Table, as this week it is being referred to as Ed's Week. It is Week 10 in the 2011 Varsity Wildcat football season, and that game will be on the SIBN Saturday night at 7 o'clock from Lakewood Stadium. Greg Zeit and I will have that for you. And tomorrow night at 7, it is the district final between the Wildcats and the Eagles on Wasmer Field, 7 o'clock. Louis Backus will have that call, and he's going to be with us in just minutes to talk about the soccer game tomorrow night, and Greg and I will be covering football as well.
Thank you, John. Louis Backus here with Lucas Matheson, and we're going to preview the game Thursday against St. Ed's. Of course, this is St. Ed's week, and so the Wildcats coming off wins against Mid-Park, 8-0, and then Tuesday night they beat Lakewood 3-0. And so, Lucas, a little recap on that game.
Against the Rangers, the Wildcats were in control the vast majority of the game. They looked incredibly comfortable, very confident, really just possessed the ball for, I would say, 75% of the time. Really just, while I guess you could say the score didn't really represent that, they definitely won handily. They really were in control. Fuldesy had a wonderful game, as per usual, scoring 2 goals and having 1 assist, setting up Nate Fay for a nice late goal to close out the game. But really, the Wildcats have been playing well. So, 8-0 against Mid-Park, 3-0 against Lakewood. They've definitely been on an upswing. They're playing well. They're feeling comfortable. They're out just watching them play. They really look like they know what they're doing. So looking forward to Ed's. I really, they've already beaten this year 2-0, 2-0. I would not be surprised if the Wildcats pulled out a 2-0 win, or a victory from an even greater margin. But really, just looking forward, the Cats seem to be on their game, and I expect to win.
So once again, that game will be Thursday night here on Wasmer Field against the St. Edward Eagles. I will have that along with my partner Alex Jerkison. And so once again, you can find the link on the Ignatius website. It will be audio only, so please stay tuned and listen to that game, and it will be a great matchup between the Wildcats and the Eagles.
And we thank Lou and Lucas, and now Greg Zeit and John Fanta in here to preview the big one, Week 10, Eds Ignatius, 2 7-2 teams, and let's explain what's on the line here as far as the playoffs go. The winner of this game will most likely end up at a 2 or a 3 slot in the OHSAA playoff standings. Still remains to be seen. A lot of work to do for the OHSAA this weekend, and most likely the loser of that game is going to fall down and end up having to go on the road for the first round of the playoffs. They could go to that 5 seed. So, Greg, there is so much on the line here, and it's the first time, they always say this game means pride for both these teams. In the past couple of years, that's really all it's been for one of the teams. Now we have really something here, a lot on the line here on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's nice because, like you said, the last 2 years haven't really been important for both teams, besides from the rivalry standpoint. 2 years ago, St. Ed's was on their way to a 4-6 season, Wildcats on their way to an undefeated season, and last year Wildcats with their 4-6 season, and Ed's with their undefeated season. But this year, like you said, winner should be the 2 seed, possibly 3. The loser could really be anywhere from 4 to 6, depending on how the other teams in front of them would do. But it's always important. You have the playoff game locked up, but it's really nice to start your playoffs at home, and the higher seed, the easier first game you have.
Well, you got to think that win at St. Francis a couple weeks ago turned out to be huge, because you think if they slip and lose that game, and when I say slip, I mean literally slip, because that's how slippery it was there, and then, St. Xavier, they lose to them 14-12, and let's kind of talk about that. They're looking right now at a game where they kind of have to win to get into the playoffs, and who knows what the situation is, but just a tough loss to St. X.
Oh, it is, but like you said, that just magnifies how important the win at St. Francis was. Like you said, if they'd have lost that game and the St. X game had gone the same way, the Wildcats would be fighting for their playoff lives, and not to mention that they also would have very little shot at a home field advantage for their first game.
Now, there were numerous occurrences in this game last Saturday against St. Ignatius in which the Wildcats fell 14-12. They had opportunities in this one, Greg, and at the very end had an opportunity to win the game. Unfortunately, just a fumbled snap that was really, it was a tough situation that they were in the hurry-up offense. They were in Xavier territory, with less than a minute to go in this one. But before that, we saw great play out of St. Xavier. Their defense was excellent, and Kilgore played very well, filling in for Dole at quarterback, and he did a very nice job. This is a very good St. X team that we lost to. Your analysis of that game?
Well, like you said, St. Xavier's defense was phenomenal. We saw what they did to Eds the week before they played us. Trey Kilgore, his first varsity start at quarterback was a very impressive one. Didn't do a whole lot throwing, but he accounted for their 2 touchdowns with his legs, made a lot of plays running. And St. Xavier's defense really, except for one 59-yard run out of Tim McVeigh, the Wildcats' running game was shut down. The passing game had its moments. There were a couple long completions. Tim McCoy had 2 really nice catches, and Jake Mooney had the only touchdown. But the Wildcats' offense didn't get the job done, only 12 points. They did have chances, like you said, but the Wildcats' defense, once again, second week in a row, they started off and struggled, but after that, they really put it together, and they shut down Xavier's offense from about the second quarter on.
Yeah, there are many positives that you can take out of this one, Greg, and the fact that the Wildcats actually in this one were running a 2-minute drill and kind of got that experience of down the line, and that's an experience that could be needed, this Saturday against St. Ed's, where points are probably going to be at a premium most likely because both these teams, they don't score a ton of points, although St. Ed's really caught on last week with their win against Cincinnati Moeller. But with the Wildcat defense, the St. Ed defense, it's a matchup of defenses, and both offenses have playmakers. So both these teams at 7-2, very equal.
Oh, they are both good defenses, like you said. Offenses looking at some of the playmakers. Obviously for Ignatius, you've got to mention Tim McVeigh. All year long, he's made big plays. Jake Mooney at the wide receiver spot, and also Eric Williams. We've seen him make some really nice throws. And last week, and for the last couple weeks, he's made some nice runs as well to complement that. St. Ed's 2 guys to watch for. Anthony Young, who plays primarily at wide receiver, also a little bit at running back. And like McVeigh, he's a speed demon.
Yes.
He's as fast as they get. He had a big game last week against Moeller. He was a big part of their offense. And also their quarterback, Ryan Fallon, not the greatest arm, but we've seen he can make a lot of plays running.
Well, he had a tough act to follow in, Kevin Burke, who was the quarterback last year, was able to get them to their first state championship and come out the victor for their first state championship. And St. Ed's, coming into this week, they were last week facing Cincinnati Moeller, and they had just dropped 2 in a row to Don Bosco, and then they dropped 1 to St. Xavier. And we're looking at a situation where, they could be in a situation in the last week where they might have to win. Instead, they get a big win against Moeller, which really sets up for this one in 2 7-2 teams. So what do you look for as far as a key matchup going in this one? We went over the key players, but do you see a key matchup in this?
Well, the Wildcats' defense has carried them all season, and I'm going to look their way as far as key matchups go. 2 things. 1, stopping St. Ed's running game. They do have a very good offensive line, not quite as good as last year's, but Xavier showed that it is possible to shut down St. Ed's running game. I'm looking for the Wildcats to do the same thing as they've done to basically all of their opponents. And the other thing, Anthony Young really was the difference last week in the secondary. The Wildcats safeties and corners, Adam North, Mike Svatina, Tom Fanning, Chad Ernie, Connor Hennessy, and the rest of the secondary are really going to have to keep Anthony Young under wraps, because if you let him go, it's a touchdown. He's one of the fastest guys in the state, was in the state track meet last year, and you've got to watch out for him.
Both teams fairly healthy, both teams at full strength and looking to get into that home field advantage slot in the playoffs. It's all going to be set up. Lakewood Stadium, Saturday night, expecting a huge crowd. There's been a lot leading up to this. Obviously, a lot of paper articles published, and we've had coverage full-length. Eddie Dwyer keeping you up with previews. And, Greg, this is definitely a huge one.
Well, we mentioned what it has for the playoff implications. Also, every year, these 2 great rivals, all about pride. You mentioned that a little bit earlier. And really, this is as good as it gets as far as, they've got the same record. They're very evenly matched, and the game means a lot.
And that'll all be set up for Saturday night, 6:45. We will start with the Murphy-Bergen pregame show, and then 7 o'clock, the big one at the Madhouse on Madison, a big crowd. And get ready for this classic rivalry. If you want more series information, Saint Ignatius leads this series 25-21-1. So it's set up, hopefully, to go to 26-21-1. We'll see at Lakewood Stadium. Saturday night, everybody, on the SIBN. We'll see you then.